This is beautiful. What is that, velvet?
Peace and love is the key.
You are now about to experience the J&J-Life podcast with your host, Reya'Sekhmet.
But my name combines Raya, which means a connection to Ra.
J&J-Life podcast,
Please smash that like button. Peace and love is the key.
Hotep and Aakhu'Ra family, peace and love is the key. I'm Reya'Sekhmet, also known as Reya'Sekhmet. Thank you for tuning into the J&J-Life podcast, where we talk about the stuff that really matters, like why our story, our family, and our culture are so important. I want to thank the ancestors and elders for all they have done and are doing.
Sure.
Peace to Baba Deka Kilimanjaro, Baba Olatunji and Wamba, and definitely Baba Mwale Mubaruti. We have Baba Rasa sitting in on the discussion, coming from you from Aakhu'Ra Studio here in Des Moines, Iowa. So guess what, family? We've got a real one hanging out with us today, as we're going to dive into African-centered leadership, wisdom, and liberation. He's another one of our truth tellers, raw and uncut, for being an activist, an influencer, scholar, author, and revolutionary, and much more. So without further ado, please welcome Baba Mkuu Mzee to the J&J-Life podcast. Thank you for joining us today, Baba.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for the introduction.
Blessings. Baba Azar, how are you doing on this Ratastic Day?
Ratastic Day, yeah. Well, thank you, Reya'Sekhmet, for having me again on the J&J-Life podcast and family, Hotep and Uncle Ma'at. And as we always do, I want to give reverence to the ancestors and elders for all they have done and are doing. And family, we have been blessed with the presence of the good brother Baba Mkuu Mzee, someone who work has shaped the way we think about leadership, responsibility, and the future of our people. I'm truly honored. We are beyond honored to have you, Baba, on the J&J-Life podcast.
Ashe. Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Absolutely.
Baba Mkuu, before we dive into your book, we want to understand the journey that led you here, because every great leader has a story. Will you share with the family what was like life for you growing up for you?
Yeah, I guess it's not much different than a lot of people who, I guess my age would probably say, coming into as a young man, as a teenager in the late 50s and early 60s, we were dealing with civil rights. It's a shame that, well, that's not the correct terminology. Maybe some of the younger people would, if they knew the flavor and the atmosphere of the civil rights movement during that time, the whole ball of wax that was going on at that time, the dynamics of the civil rights movement, you would know that's what shaped us in my generation of where we at now. Some of us didn't quite make it out of there. And every generation has its challenges. But we were at what you consider the apex or the highlight of African consciousness. This is when the word Black came into play. This is when Black power came into play. This is when you walked around most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, with your hand as a fist in the air. When you greeted your brothers and your sisters, it was a quote unquote a family type atmosphere at that time. Although we had our personal quibbles and back and forth a lot, it was a special time that I wish a lot of people would have experienced it. And at the same time, we had a neighborhood dynamic where you could go down the street, go to a corner store. The big box stores didn't exist at that time. The monopolies didn't exist at that time. So we had this element of going down the street, not having to get on the bus and get on public transportation to go shop, get in the car to go to a big box store to shop. You can just do that right down the corner of your block. And then on top of that, it was such a thing as playing outside.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
you go outside and play, don't you?
Video games didn't exist at that time. The games that we played was outside on the street, on the block, just playing ball, that kind of stuff. So everything was based outside. And then you heard the famous thing, get your butt inside the house when the lights go on. So that just give you an idea of my childhood and my young adulthood days. But going into my formative years as a young man, it was a challenge because I didn't have quote unquote African guidance or African models to follow. There was some African conscious stuff going on, but very sporadic. Not like it is. That's not saturated like it is now. And we wouldn't even call what's going on now saturated, but it's much more available now, especially with social media and the internet being
Absolutely.
involved. So I didn't have that. So I came up and I had to kind of go from my own, had to use my own devices to kind of navigate the workplace, life life period as an adult. Didn't really know how to be a man, be a father. I had to learn all that stuff on the fly. So it's a nutshell type of thing that I gave you. I didn't get into a lot of specifics, but I guess as we go along into the interview, I can bring some things up as we go. Because I did cover just a small aspect of my road to leadership in my formative years in the book. But that's also very condensed too. You know what I mean? But you know, what can you do? At the 74 years of life, I have so many tales and so many stories I can give you.
Right.
I'll probably be here for the next 2 weeks telling you.
And we're here to soak up all that information, if possible.
Yeah, I've been told that I need to do an autobiography, but I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll be one of the first two to try to get that copy, right?
But I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. Were there any specific experiences or moments that made you realize you had a role to play in the liberation of African people?
No, not until much later.
Yeah.
Not until much later. Not until I got my scrapes.
Yeah.
And my little scratches, my wounds, my broken bones of life I'm talking about now.
Yeah.
I had to experience a lot of, like many failures in order for me to get to the point of where I'm at now, or even at the age I didn't really get conscious until I was like in my late 40s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean,
Understood.
so it was a ride for me. It really was a ride for me.
Yeah, and we all have our different journeys to get to the truth, right?
Right.
Well, let me ask this then. Let me put it this way. Leadership can mean different things to different people. Some people think it's about being in charge, while others see it as a responsibility. Baba, how would you define leadership for yourself, as you grew into that role or into this role for that matter?
Yeah, that is tantamount to where I'm at now. It was a realization that I was a leader and never really knew it. It kind of came naturally.
Yeah.
It started with the Boy Scouts. I think I talked about it in the book, where I just automatically was just drawn. I was just drawn to leadership positions. One of the things that I just naturally did. I mean, I had to bring order to the chaos. You know what I mean? Now, back then we had that gang wars,
Yeah,
and stuff. That's unheard of right now. Well, they do have gangs, but they're drug gangs. But the kind of gangs I'm talking about are street gangs. You have a turf to defend. So you can go 2 blocks down the street, you be in somebody's turf, or you can go another 3 or 4 blocks the other way and be in somebody else's turf. It was gang war stuff going on all the time. And so in that Boy Scout troop that I was in, we had 4 or 5 or 6 even gang members in that troop. So there was a whole lot of back and forth and quibbling and arguing and fights. So I brought order to the chaos. It was something about my personality that people listened to me. I don't know why that happened that way, but that was my start of leadership.
Well, we can hear it in your voice right now. It's just something about that aura you have about it's just gravitating, right?
Yeah.
So Reya'Sekhmet can appreciate that. I was seeing you over there. You wanted to put up the power fist, right? Go ahead. You go ahead. This is one of those you can do that.
But if I get a little too strong and too far into it, just pull me back, because I tend to get a little passionate sometimes. Just pull me back.
Yeah. No, we feed off the energy.
Okay.
We always tell, Reya'Sekhmet always says, she needs all her Cometians and
Pan-Africans.
her Kushites, her conscious community. She need that energy.
Yeah.
Okay, Baba. Just so I'm clear on this, so leadership isn't just about being in charge. It's about serving the people, making sacrifices, and staying true to African values. And it's about knowing our history, standing our truth, as well as making sure we uplift each other. Am I close to the point, Baba?
What was that last part?
Am I close to the point, Baba?
Yeah, yes, it is. You're definitely on point. It's not it is about sacrifice. It's not about personal gains. It shouldn't be about personal gain or anything of that nature. It has to be a need. You have to see a need to bring some kind of order, like I said, to the chaos. It may not always be as to a severe degree as that, but sometimes it could be just like, yeah, man, I just need some peace and quiet.
Yeah, exactly.
I just need some peace and quiet. So how can I get that peace and quiet? It's easier for a lot of people just to walk away. You hear people say it all the time. Just walk away. Yeah, it's appropriate to walk away in most cases, but sometimes if the circumstances dictate that you can bring some kind of order to that particular situation, and you have the tools to do that, then that's where your leadership skills or your personality will shine. You won't just look to do it; it'll just happen naturally, and that's where. And you're right. You're right, Rhea. Where it is a sacrifice, but sometimes it's so automatic it doesn't seem that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ashe. That makes me think about your book, Art of Leadership. You wrote it to help people understand what real leadership looks like, right?
Yes, no doubt about it. I did. There are other books that have the title Art of Leadership in it, and so people will be they wouldn't be confused, but they would think that looking at this particular book, Art of Leadership, would be like all the others. And me and the good brother, Dr. Takar Kilimanjaro, says that it can't be an ordinary book. It can't profess the type of values that other books have done. When you look at other books, there's no need for me to get into any names of the authors or anything like that, but there's at least 3 or 4 other books of Art of Leadership that go into dogmatic foundations. Being a Christian, having reading the Bible, all those different things, and we understand that these are the things that got us in the predicament that we're in as African people anyway. So leaving the dogmatic stuff to the side and getting to the very important part of this, the contemporary issues of our day, not getting mystical about spiritual stuff. And the spiritual stuff is also good. We need that in the community, but we need to tackle contemporary issues that are affecting us as African people today. And we believe that book, Art of Leadership, does that.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I did not come across those books you're talking about, and that we gravitated right to the best one, the right one. Right. So and peace to Baba Taka, peace to Baba Taka 3 times, right? For the family way in the back. Peace to Baba Taka.
Ashe. That's a powerful foundation and a great segue to talk more about your book, Art of Leadership, that you co-write with Baba Taka Kilimanjaro. From my research, you two challenge traditional ideas of leadership. What actually inspired you to write this book?
Beyond what you just gave us,
Yeah, no doubt. That's a great question, because when you think about it, I can give you the packaged answer, and it'll be easier for me to do that. But no, I think there was just like we just talked about earlier, where you want to do something as a leader, and you want to sacrifice something in order for you to give something of substance back to the community. This was the case of finding something of substance that the community needed. And in order for us to do that, I had to put the time. That book, especially my part of the book, is a culmination of maybe about 10 years worth of journaling of different things throughout my life. And my conscious journey, let me say that, I'll be very clear about that. My conscious is part of my journey where I
Yeah.
journal a lot of stuff and I had written down in notes and things of that nature, even going through initiation, where I got initiated to the Kemetic practice with
Hmm.
Infodisi Jehudamas.
Hmm.
I went through different journeys and different paths in my life. And I journaled all the way through, not just for books, I journaled my life. So it was important for me to say, you know what? I got some jewels here. I got some very valuable information here that you don't see people putting in a book.
Right,
And I,
right.
and I thought that this is what we needed to do. And when I brought it to Takai, matter of fact, he brought it to me because he knows my life.
Hmm.
In our conversations about my challenges throughout my life, he knew that I had something of substance to give. And when he saw that I did have these things, these notes in these journals, he said, "Oh man, we got to put this in a book." And that's exactly
Yeah.
what we did. And that's exactly what we did.
And that was and you just spoke to my off question was going to be, how did you end up ultimately connecting with Baba Taka? And I have to admit that I have seen some of maybe all of them, I don't know, but I won't say all, I'm gonna say most of your interviews and discussions that you have at least shared publicly on, like, the social media with Baba Taka, and the creation of the art of leadership, and through you all's discussion, that's what I really gravitated to, because at one point in my life, I was wondering, like, man, am I an anomaly? Is these things not experienced up to this up to this point? Is nobody else is out there talking about this? At least having it in a book. And
Right.
so, that's been very helpful for me. And Reya'Sekhmet and I, we read through this book from front to back page, and that's why we wanted to do the book review on it. And you graciously gave us your blessing to do that. So, much respect for you, with that as well. And I know you're looking at me. I can see you over there looking at me to keep this thing going. But, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it back over to you. But, I just wanted to share that with you, Baba.
I appreciate that.
Thanks, Baba. I would like to say a little with the family. On my perspective, well, at least from my research of the book and family, that is one of the most critical aspects of art of leadership, is what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's a timeless significance across generations. And I'm already 8 years old and I already know this. And I've said this during our book review. That's through deep learning and listening, I understand that leadership is not just about titles or authority. It's also about responsibility, service, and guiding others with integrity.
Thanks.
Family, I've come to know without question that both adults and children must engage with the teachings in this book. That's why I'm thankful for my Baba Reya'Sekhmet and Nana Cynthia Aakhu'Ra for exposing me to this understanding.
Yeah, and wasn't expecting that, but thank you. I would have to say, to your point, Rhea, is without my wife, Cynthia Makara, she was the one who actually came across Baba Taka's book, Ma'at, first, and she introduced it to me. She was like, I need you to find this book. It's called Matt. And I'm thinking, I never heard of nothing called Matt,
That's an honest mistake. That's an honest mistake.
And so, as we were doing our research and trying to find the book, and and granted, we're talking, this has been some years back now, from the first edition, but I'm trying to find the book, and I'm like, I'm asking some of the people that we know in the conscious community, you heard of a book called Matt? No, everybody's looking at me all, side-eyed and crazy. But anywho, we found it, we familiarized ourselves with it, and we applied it, and that's how we came into knowing the works of Baba Taka. And then we started looking at who was all the other individuals that he partnered with that was co-authored on books, and your name was one of them, and that's how we come to know you. So I just wanted to put that out there that, you know, she gives me credit, but I would have to credit my wife, Cynthia Aakhu'Ra, to bringing that information to the family. So, you know, much respect that way, you know. So as we continue this thing, Reya'Sekhmet, family, I need us to take a moment and recognize what's happening here. You know, listening to this young, passionate warrior, you know, Reya'Sekhmet standing firm in her understanding of art of leadership. And like she said, at just 8 years old, she's standing on business, not waiting to inherit wisdom. She's actively engaging with it, questioning it, and applying it. Yeah.
Put a fist in the air for that one.
Yeah. And Baba Mkuu, this is exactly why leadership must be cultivated early. As you and Baba Taka teaching you your art of leadership, leadership isn't just title, it's responsibility, service, and guidance. So I would just ask you, what does it mean for our movement when even our youngest, like Reya'Sekhmet, are grasping these lessons, and how does that shape the work that we must do now to ensure that leadership continues to develop?
Yeah, that actually is a very complicated question. It brings a plethora of concepts and a dimension, a multidimensional look at what plagues us as people. Psychologically, we are pretty messed up. You know, we're pretty messed up people. And nobody can deny that. We have been programmed for quite a while, especially capitalistic type programming that we are constantly deluged with. I'm sorry, on a consistent basis with both social media, communication outlets, music, the whole work. So, how do we do that is always the challenge, and the best way to do that is to silo with like-minded people, connect with like-minded people. The cream always rises to the top, but you're not going to know who is the cream of the crop and who are the ones that can put themselves in a position of leadership until you get them out there to show their talent and their skills, to have them talk to in a group and share their ideas and their thoughts and their aspirations. Cultivate those things. And then this is where leadership evolves from, where groups, teaching teams, and things of that Takar talks about all the time, can be the fertile soil where that will develop. And that's how you do it. Just the waiting for somebody to show up is never going to work.
Yeah.
Sometimes somebody does pop up, and when they do, on a very rare occasion, every 50, 60, 70 years, that person has been assassinated and taken out. It does so happen that we have a guy in Africa, Traore, who took over in a military coup. It looks like he's trying to do the right things, but he surfaced on his own.
Yeah.
Now, how he was cultivated, we don't know that story. Waiting for that story to come out, how he rose to the top the way he did. But I'm pretty sure there was some influences in his life that got him to where he was at. So we as elders, myself, yourself, Baba, you're a grandfather now. You're doing a great job with your seeds. Rhea can see us doing what we need to do, so we can cultivate her, give her the proper seasoning and guidance where she can be the leader. It looks like she's on her way anyway, but we can continue to help nurture her as she needs it.
Yeah, she's pushing me. You know, she's like, I'm ready to tap into Baba Olatunji book with Baba Mkuu, and it's like, okay, slow down, grasshopper. You know, I like to read, but I got to soak up this information too. You know,
I'm glad to see it there on the day it's there. I'm glad to see that book there, and also see about Malima Rudy's book right there as well.
Yeah. You know, we found it only befitting. You know, absolutely.
Yeah, menticide is definitely the thing that we should concentrate on. The sickness that we have in this community needs to be dealt with, but it's got to be the number one priority. And if it's not the number one priority, we'll never become the people that we're destined to be. Never.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
In facts, I'll just say it appears that leadership isn't something you should wait to learn when you're grown. It must be cultivated early, embedded in the foundation of a church, and to develop. And for those asking, why
is Reya'Sekhmet saying this?
I'll tell you, because I'm taught that leadership begins in the home. It starts with values that are instilled within us, the lessons we're taught, and the examples that are set for us. But sometimes we as children can be the example. So family, if we're serious about nation building and building a strong, balanced, and self-sustaining nation, we must shape the minds of the next generation, my generation, while adults like Barbara Assar and Baba Mkuu Mzee with wisdom, discipline, and solid commitment. I might be 8 years old, but I already know that this book is more than just words on the page. It is a call for action, a blueprint for transformation, and a guide for those ready to lead with purpose. And family, this book matters for me, for you, and for the future of our people.
Well, I say. You know what?
She always has those jewels, man. That's where
she be dropping them, right? You know, look, man, you just set the tone for the rest of the discussion. You know.
Yeah. I think she made. Before you go on, I think she made a good point though, as far as it being something that has to be cultivated.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think in the book, and anybody who has the book can see there's a chapter on it about how is leadership created, or is it natural? Is naturally born in people? And I go into the differences of either one. You know, where you can be a leader, or are you born leader, or is it something that's developed? And there's a difference. But as long as you reach the same epic point, the summit of that, that's a good thing. But people can take different routes to get there, and it could be natural, but it also could be developed. So somewhere in the middle, we got to get there. And you, as leadership, quality leadership, non-corrupted leadership, non-corrupted African leadership, if they can get there to the summit, that's where we need to be.
Ashe. Yeah, I agree with you. You agree?
Yes.
Absolutely. You know, so what I was going to lead into, Baba, was that there's a lot of discussion in our community, and I feel like this is a great segue into this question, and that is, there's a lot of discussion in our community about being pro-Black versus being pro-African. Some people use these terms interchangeably, while others say they mean completely different things. And understanding this distinction is important because it shapes how we see ourselves, how we see our identity, and how we see our connection to the ancestors. You know, will you break down for the family your understanding as the difference between being pro-Black versus being pro-African? I mean, we know, we delve into the books and things like that, but for those who may not know.
Yeah, there's plenty of discussion going around about Black being a color, being a crayon.
Yeah.
And that's just so simple of an explanation. Those are people that are not really looking at it critically. Yeah, Black is a color. Yeah, Black is a crayon. But ain't nobody trying to say you're a crayon. You know, there's nobody trying to say that. Black and African can be both in and of itself the same. Your consciousness has to be the difference. You know, whether you're going to be African centered as a person, in your personality, in your actions, living the livelihood and the total aspect of a Mayadian African person. Integrating the principles of Ma'at is going to make the difference between you being an African and a Black person. But you can be both. You know, there's while we get into this conversation about being a black person and being an African, they in and of itself the same things. Now, why is it different though in this cultural dynamic paradigm that we're in? Because we always look at things as in a perverted way when it's based on how our exposure is to the media, how our exposure is to the music and everything else, and social media, especially in the social media platforms. You know what I mean? Being black is something that's very simple to be. Anybody can be black, but you can also be gay. You can also
Right.
be a transgender person. You can also be you can also love what you call miscegenation. I always mess that word up. Miscegenation, wanting to marry outside your race. Um, Understanding that everybody, the civil rights movement doesn't really matter. We're all equal and the same. I can be, a Muslim. I can be a Christian. I can be a Buddhist, but I'm also black. So when you look at people who look at life like that, that's the term. That's the terminology of being black that you don't want to be.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That you don't want to be. But being African, being a true African is going to say, I have to understand what my consciousness is. I have to understand what my culture is. Now, I can be black, but can I be African? You know what I mean? Can I put to the side all these other things, these diversions, you know what I mean? And these things that take me off my square, where I'm not walking upright in my Africanity. You know what I mean? And can I take care of my children? Can I be a responsible person on the job? Can I make sure I pay my bills on time? Can I make sure there's a roof over my kids, my wife, I'm sorry, the roof over my wife and my kids, and making sure that the house is a secure home. So living as an African is totally different as living as a black person,
Absolutely.
right?
That's
But
why.
living as a black person is going to be very much different than living as a black African person. And that's it.
Yeah, living as a merely simply a black person to me is dangerous.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been in those conversations with those type of brothers and sisters, and the first thing I used to get hit with, Baba Mkuu, is, well, black people as a whole, we're not a monolith, and it's like, here we go, here come the fire discussions again. But I don't,
Right.
As in my older age, I don't have time for that nonsense or that way of thinking, because my thing is, if we all want to achieve those very things that we discuss and talk about in our siloed circles, then you have to be willing to do what's necessary. And those individuals, weren't and probably still aren't at that point. So, do I separate myself from them? No, because they separated themselves from me. So,
Right.
for their reasons. But, in any case, here we are, we're surrounded ourselves with the best of, from the past to take it into our present and beyond into our future. Basically, do my that's where we're at. Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
No doubt.
So, Baba Mkuu, for my clarity, being pro-Black is often focused on supporting Black people in the present, while being pro-African is about reconnecting with our roots, culture, and global identity. And if that's the thing, then some people argue that being pro-African is more important because it gives us a foundation beyond just race. So I believe my question for clarity is, should we be striving a pro-African mindset rather than just pro-Black?
That's a good question, for you to gain some clarity. I'm glad that Baba Mkuu is on the call, because he can explain it a lot better than what I could do.
No, I think that's perfect. Actually, you answered the question yourself. It's being pro-African is definitely what you want to be We get caught up in the titles and the terminology and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely very, very important to be pro-African and being African-centered and living the principles of Ma'at than just to be black.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because black comes with conditions. Black comes with cultural and pop cultural distinctions and conditions where anybody who thinks they're black, they can put dreads in their hair. They can wear people don't wear dashikis anymore. But like with my generation, you can throw a dashiki on and throw a black power sign up, and everybody thinks because you're doing black things and making black gestures that you're African, and you're not. You're not.
Right.
There's a difference with black and being pro-African. Definitely a big difference. And you kind of like answered your own question, but that's really basically what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And I think that question probably came from, as we see today with social media and media for that matter, you see different people in the community that has a lot of followers, and we can name drop if we need to, but
Right.
I'm sure you get the picture that some talk about Pan-Africanism, some talk about foundational Black Americans, some talk about this, some talk about that, and so you see elements of different things that represent Blackness. So it's like I think that's where that question was coming from, but yeah. So I would just say that, I've heard people say, or I've been in spaces, I think I said it earlier, where people have said that being pro-Black is often reactionary, as you had alluded to, a stance shaped by oppression rather than a strategy for liberation. It's about resisting, protecting, and demanding recognition from a system that we never was designed for us, in my feelings. But I've come to know being pro-African, as the way that you stated it, and that's about power. You with us?
Yes.
Okay. It's about building and reclaiming our traditions, values, and systems, family, to create a future where we control our own destiny. And Baba Mkuu, Reya'Sekhmet and I know the answers are in your books, but will you explain for the family that may not know your thoughts on this, and how do we truly stop begging, stop reacting, and start constructing the institutions and economies and cultural foundations necessary for African African sovereignty? I'm sorry, I want to apologize, but I don't want to apologize because I can feel my passion starting to rise,
Oh man. Now you're talking about a lot of solutions to a multi-dimensional problem. And so you have to get to the root foundational cause of our issues. It all comes down to that book that you got right in front of you, Menticide. And I like to put another term on the table called capitalistic hypnosis. And capitalistic hypnosis, I'm actually making notes on this now because I might do this as a part of another book that I'm doing.
And you're saying capitalistic hypnosis.
Capitalistic hypnosis.
Oh, love it. Love it.
And everything is revolved around the menticide that Baba Baruti talks about. But capitalistic hypnosis is the overarching, overreaching, overriding principle that we are being preyed upon with by the capitalistic elite. It's even beyond racial boundaries, but we can't worry about other races and other things. We have to worry about ourselves. But if we ever get to the point where everybody is in this boat, everybody's in this boat. Anybody who's under this system is in this boat, including the European. That might be a way out of it, maybe. But we can't worry about that right now. We have to worry about ourselves. So we have to look at our issues as being rooted in the capitalistic, predatory devices that are used against us. Everything is capitalistic. Everything that we do in our life now is based on, oh man, can I get that? Can I get that car, that vehicle that everybody wants to get? Can I get that? Can I get that Range Rover? You know what I mean? Can I do these other things? Now they got these. I just saw something online this morning where the guy Travis is that his name? Travis from Colorado, who's picked.
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking about.
He just married the European.
Yep.
Girl, and everybody's saying,
Colorado.
"Oh, he made that big mistake. He's married this European." He can do what he wants. Obviously, you know how we had these conversations where I don't tell anybody how they need to live their life.
Right.
So you want to marry a European, that's fine. Do what you want to do, but don't say that you have not been warned. You know what I mean? So he did that, but I noticed in that I think it was a post earlier where it says that they got this company, this all they do is custom BMWs and custom Rolls Royces and custom Range Rovers and things. So they'll take a vehicle, a top of the line vehicle from Mercedes and BMW and all this, and then they'll actually change it and make it a custom vehicle. So now you triple and quadruple the worth of the car.
Yep.
So he bought this particular custom made, and I think it was a Mercedes, or it might have been a Range Rover, because that maybe was in my head because it looks like an SUV. It's custom, and he spent $500,000 for that thing. And this is what he gave her for a wedding gift. This is their first day of being married.
Wow.
So that's the capitalistic hypnosis that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? You got to have the next big. You got the money. You got to have the next big thing. You have to have the thing that everybody wants. You got to shine, where nobody else can shine. All these things are the pressures of capitalism that overrides our life and our existence. Everything we do is based on capitalistic pursuits. Everything. And we need to somehow come out of that and learn how to volunteer our services, learn how to freely give our time, and our efforts to a mission and a quest for that sovereignty and that liberation and that nationhood that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it by trying to get paid. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. So that's how you do it. It's a long answer to a very complicated question, but can we voluntarily put down wealth? No. You don't want to put. You want to make sure that your kids and your legacy is assured. You want to be able to, be successful and survive in this particular paradigm. But everything should not be, I have to have the best. I have to have the most expensive. I have to do all this stuff in order for me to look different, to look special. And the only thing special about you is that you got money in your pocket. That's it.
That's it. Yeah. I would just add that, to kind of close on the Travis brother and brothers like him. And I don't know this for a fact because, like you, I just see certain clips on social media, and he's not a brother that I even follow. But from what is being said out there is that he doesn't even have a prenup with this person.
He does not.
And right. And so what I was thinking was capitalistic oppression, because, as he is young and he been warned, but he is not seeing the generational wealth that is going to go right back to the very people that we keep talking about. We trying to liberate ourselves from. Right. So he's making all this money now, just in turn, if she leave him to tomorrow or 6 months from now, half of his earnings and wealth is going to go right to her, and don't let her have a child. Then she's going to be locked in for life. So, I just wanted to put my little 2 cents in on that piece.
Well, look, go turn that around. Turn that around to go back to the capitalistic hypnosis again. Turn that around to her.
Yeah.
She's trying to survive too.
Yeah.
She's a European, right? It doesn't matter that whether she's black or white. She has found a way in this capitalistic environment, in this paradigm. She's preying on our young people. They have learned to prey on our young athletes.
Yeah.
You can't blame them. They are just as much in a hypnotic state as we are. So we prey upon each other. You know what I mean? Now, he's a young man, doesn't know much better, but she is basically doing the same thing on the opposite side of the track, where she has to get what she wants and need as well. She's trying to survive as well. And if you can do it by preying on a young brother, and that seems to be the thing now with these, especially these young white women.
Yeah.
Get these brothers, whip them.
Yep.
I put the other name in front of it, but whip them. You know what I mean? And get them in love, and then take their earnings. That's all part of the capitalistic hypnosis. We are caught up in this rat race, this thing that we're never going to get out, this spiral that we're never going to be able to come out of until we wake up.
Yeah.
And stop being pawns in this capitalistic paradigm. Just look at the other side. We're all victims in this thing.
Facts. That was a great question, Reya'Sekhmet. I didn't see that one coming.
And I didn't know I was going to answer it that way either.
That makes a lot of sense. But if we only focus on fighting oppression, it feels as though we're playing defense, at least from what I see. We're creating something that lasts beyond struggle. So, Baba Mkuu, for the young warriors becoming, does this information apply equally? And if not, how can they start embracing a pro-African mindset in their daily lives?
When you say apply equally, how do you rephrase the question for me?
Like, for the young warriors becoming, does this information apply equally?
So, like with the Travis, the boy that we're talking about, who is married to a European and not being able to see what a true African mindset is. Is that what you mean? So
yeah, no doubt about it. It's definitely going to be applied across the board. Now, equally is something that is, it's something that can be discussed when you're talking about economy, when you're talking about lifestyle, when you're talking about the money that's involved. The word equal can be converted or diverted that way, or it can be perverted when you look at it that way, when you look at people who have a lot of money. But it applies to all of us, no matter where you are on the scale, of the economic scale, the earning scale, your wealth scale, whether you're rich or whether you're poor. It definitely can be applied up and down the scale, no matter where we're at, because we have people who are now just working 9-to-5 jobs, and they think the catch is the European down in the next cubicle. You know what I mean? So it's not about money. It's just that they think that that's something that's more attractive to them, because now they see the sisters, rightly or wrongly, flashing their butts and dancing and being basically naked all on social media. It seems like a lot of the young women I see now, all they want to do is get on social media and just have nothing on, twerk. And things. So why do our women want to be there as well? So they don't even care what the men think. So now the men are responding to that and saying, I can't deal with that ratchetness. They call it ratchetness. I can't deal with that ratchetness. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get me a European, get me a Yoruba woman. So up and down the scale, we got the same issue, different different levels of frustration, but but the idea and the gravity of it is still the same. So that was a great question, Raya. Very, very, very good question.
Yeah, I mean, and we know where our discussion is going, but reality is through our discussion, it just kind of make me think more that we need to start as a people, as a people, the whole African diaspora, for that matter, got to start looking inward. And I know that there are going to be some people that might disagree with me, but at some point we have to stop looking at things from a victimized state.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
And start dealing within. But anywho, I don't want to digress.
You'd open up the can of worms now, bro.
Oh boy.
Understood. Baba Mkuu, in my review of Art of Leadership, I made it clear that I agree with you and Baba Taka, that there is an absolute and firm judgment against harm toward children. And I say this as a child myself. No one should ever hurt children or anyone for that matter. But let me be clear, family. We, the children, are the greatest resource, the future, and the responsibility of our community. And Baba Taka and Baba Mkuu are very clear. If you harm, corrupt, or mislead us, you're not just failing the community, you're betraying it. You are an enemy to our people, and history will judge you accordingly. So, family, we must be protected, educated, and empowered, because without us, there is no future.
Facts.
That's true.
Baba, she been working on that piece, because when we came across that in the book, she was like, "Oh, I'm taking this. I'm borrowing this. You think Bob would be good with that?" I said, "I'm sure that he would let you go ahead and use that." But yeah, she's been working on that piece. She loves that piece.
Yeah. I was kind of ready for that, because you cannot. There's a saying now that says, "Hurt people hurt people."
Yeah.
I've been saying that for over 20 years, and I don't know whether I can get credit for that or not. But I also remember saying that we are living in toxic environments. Now, as a young manager early in my career, I coined that term, working in a toxic environment or a toxic workplace. And then, of course, that kind of it equates to where we're at now, how we're living. We're living in toxic environments, and we're working, not only are we working in toxic workplace, but also living in toxic environments.
Mm-hmm.
So the corruption is pretty much guaranteed, but we cannot allow it to be an excuse. People get hurt, and they want to retaliate, and they want to reach back out and hurt other people. So once your girlfriend, leaves you for whatever reason, or what's going on now seems to be this thing with older women, where I got married, I have my children, and I'm happy, but I need to go out and do my own thing, so I'm going to get a divorce. There's a lot of that going on right now. That's that phenomenon going on right now. This I got to live for me. So why would you leave your husband, who has been loyal to you all these years, and because you had this thing with this Me Too movement, this whole thing with this Me Too movement, where I got to be the woman I could never be, but I want to be single, I want to be married, I don't have to be married no more, I go out and do what I want to be happy. So hurt people do hurt people. We don't know where that psychological foundation is that comes from that, but a lot of it is the conditioning from the external sources of of the things that this person is being subjected to.
Mm-hmm.
Now on page 96, I talk about that, and it's actually one of my quotes I've used for a long time. It's been around for a long time, and I'll just read it real quick.
Okay.
And it's a quote. It's just a quote I put in the book. It's on page 96. If you're hurt, then it's okay. Seek help. That says a lot right there. If you're bitter, direct it at those you deem deserve it. There it is right there,
Yep.
right? That you deem deserve it. Don't blame all black people don't blame all black men or all black women. If you've lost balance, then take the time to correct your spiritual equilibrium. Get help. If you want to sleep with a member of the same sex or outside of your race, you have that right. I can't and I won't condemn you. However, you have to take full responsibility for that decision. Your hurt or your pain is only an excuse, and it is not natural, nor is it African. If you rape, molest little boys and girls, I do and I will condemn you, and there is no other destination for you than complete and absolute removal from the African community and even death.
Yes.
I do not apologize for this decision. Our children are our present and greatest resource. And if you have violated and corrupted that resource, then you must be deemed a traitor. So when you look at those couple of paragraphs, there's so much in there. If you just do the study on that paragraph, on those couple of paragraphs, it gives you everything about our condition, our psychological condition, our solution, our responsibility, taking responsibility, getting right, getting psychological help, reaching out for help, and being non-apologetic for being an African person. That's all that's in there.
Yeah, facts. And Reya'Sekhmet read that passage. Matter of fact, we even talked about that particular passage in our Art of Leadership book review. So yeah, she really gravitated to that, as I did as well. But
Right.
Just to point that out. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ashe.
So family, as we guide and teach Reya'Sekhmet, we make sure that she understands leadership is not just about power, it's about morality, responsibility, and protecting the integrity of our people. And part of that means recognizing what is right and what is wrong. Some things in this world are just wrong. And as Baba Mkuu has just stated, there's things in this world that are wrong there's things that are as wrong as two left shoes. And it's our duty to make sure our children understand why. We don't just tell them something is wrong, we teach them, we show them, and we make sure they have the knowledge to stand firm in truth. Facts?
Ashe. Facts. Splendid.
Okay. So with that in mind, and pardon me, Baba, as I know that that's a lot of words, to get to my next question, but I just felt like it's necessary to kind of set the preface out there. But in your book, you talk about leadership and morality. I know where I stand, but for the family, and this may be a question that is two parts. How do you see, Baba Mkuu, intersectionality, like being in that plus community or alphabet community, whatever name that they have for that community, or even being of mixed race for that matter? How do you see these types of stuff fitting into the African liberation struggle for true justice, freedom, liberation?
Oh, no. I mean,
if there's any place in it at all, is what I'm,
Yeah. I think. I mean, I got you. I understand exactly where you're at. The intersectionality part can come down to one of culture, corrupted culture, the menticide that we talked about, the capitalistic hypnosis that we talked about, and also can come down to power and influence. So when you deal with the plus community, a lot of it is done and hopefully you guys will get a chance to talk to Brother Olatunji Mwamba. A lot of it comes down to getting into position of power. Because they see the political strength that this particular group has. So can you put yourself in position? Again, the capitalistic hypnosis tells you, where can I go? Where can I position myself in to gain favor and to gain wealth and to gain a position in life. And that is just one of those areas that people gravitate towards because they see preferential treatment happening in there. Now, since Trump has come into office, things have shifted a little bit. Matter of fact, it shifted quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I did my notes from the Art of Leadership, I think I have 8 particular shorts on that, to little videos. If people go to the website, raiseawarenessgroup.com, they will see that I've done these different notes from the Art of Leadership, quick, short videos. And one of them has to do with that, where a person who may not even have to be in that community will see there is an advantage for me to claim being gay or being part of that lifestyle. I can go over there, I can gain favor, I can do some things, I can position myself in a position where I can, be upwardly mobile, where otherwise I would not be using my own devices. You know what I mean? So it is also a thing where up until very recently, until the Trump administration came into play, people, all they had to do was say, "Oh, you discriminated against me because I'm a gay person."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you will be ostracized because of that. And it wouldn't have to be. It'll be just like screaming rape. A woman screaming rape, is this man raped me? It's just almost as bad as that.
Mm-hmm.
Where you ostracize this gay person, you're being prejudiced against this gay person. So it's a lot of it has to do with power and position.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the intersectionality part comes after with us, comes into play, where we can be Black. So how many times have you seen these groups, with that are gay or that are leaning right? These MAGA people, Black people for MAGA, Black people for LGBTQI rights, Black people for Black Lives Matter rights. We know what the Black Lives Matter movement has turned into, or what it was all the time. It was never about Black people in the first place.
So it's a
So
different agenda.
yeah, again, so there you go. Being Black and not being African will put you in those positions, put you in those situations, because you think being Black is enough. It is intersectionality at its best. Putting all those things together. That's what intersectionality is all about. Blending all those things together and saying, I'm Black, I'm gay, I'm all this, I'm leaning right, I'm right wing, I'm MAGA, I'm all these different things. Also, I'm a left. I'm a left wing Democrat. You know what I mean? So, and the left wing Democrat, you know where they lean to? They lean all the way to, all these things that you can do for, the perversion stuff. So can we ever get out of this? Very, very confusing circumstances that we find ourselves in. Never, ever will we ever get out of it until we change our mindset
There's the key
to being African centered. And that comes with having an African morality. And obviously we know what the African morality is. That's living a life of Ma'at. That's the only way we'll get out of it.
Facts. Look, family, and can I say this? Okay, I always got to ask permission, right? But look, family, I know not everybody may agree with our position. I've stated it before, and that's why we say we're students of information. We study, we analyze, and we challenge ideas, not just to debate, but to sharpen our understanding and ensure that what we stand on is rooted in truth. So, family, I'll just land my plane with this. Liberation is a process, and learning is a lifelong commitment. And that's the kind of leadership I want for mine, like Reya'Sekhmet. That's the kind of leadership we need. And that's leadership rooted in integrity, service, and in a deep understanding of who we are and where we're going. Ashe?
And Ashe. So while the J&J-Life Squad don't claim the expositional aspects of revolutionary blackness, ancient African history, or history for that matter, we approach this as students of information, open to correction if needed. Our intention is to represent this knowledge well. And Ashe. Okay, Baba Mkuu. It's time for a question from the Sekhmet Zone. This is where I ask you a light, fun question.
You've been waiting to get at this question.
Give you on my Aakhu'Ra, let me make my own sandwich. I try to be creative when making it. For instance, when my mom makes burgers and fries, I'll put my fries on my burger along with ketchup, and then I'll take a big bite out of it. My question is, so Baba Mkuu, what's the wildest, most unexpected sandwich combination you've ever made?
Oh man, I gotta think about that one, man, because I made some wild sandwiches in
Haven't we all, right?
yeah. Wow. I think the wildest, no, that wouldn't be wild though, would it? Having lunch meat. I'm talking about when I was younger. This is what I love to do. Lunch meat on white bread, because white bread was a big thing back then. Lunch meat, white bread, pickles, and potato chips. And having mayo on one slice of the sandwich and mustard on the other side. And yeah, that was one of my favorite combinations. I just love potato chips and pickles on I say no, turkey, I guess a turkey breast sandwich or whatever, some kind of lunch meat.
Yeah.
And that's what and even now when I buy a sub, I'll treat myself to a sub or a hoagie for what we from people from the East Coast. I'll take potato chips and put them inside the sandwich.
Yeah.
So that seems to be the weird combination for me, but I've had some other ones that I've done. I'll tell you what I did do a lot was having peanut butter and pancake syrup sandwiches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
I've
that
had
something?
many
Is
of
that
those.
weird? Is that weird, or is that I don't know?
You ever had a syrup sandwich?
No. I want to try it though.
Yeah, syrup and potato, peanut butter and syrup, and it's got to be toasted though, because you mess the bread up if you don't toast it. So
Yeah. You got fried peanut butter.
man, that was a wild question. I have to think about that one for a while now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ashe. So Baba
That's
Mkuu,
it.
I'm curious to know, who influences you?
That's a good question.
Oh man, I'm going to put out this disclaimer like you did because I've always been one who stays a student. I continue to be a student, and sometimes my influences, I've outgrown my influences. Let's put it like that. I've had some influences that I've outgrown. So it wouldn't be fair for me to list the influences that was early in my development because they wouldn't be true today. But they are responsible for me to be where I'm at, obviously. But the biggest influences in my life would be Walima Baruti, Taka Kilimanjaro, Olatunji Mwamba, Sheikh Anta Diop, and that pretty much. Well, then of course I got some other guys who are still a big influence in my life. Is John Henry Clark, Dr. Ben, um, and the other great scholars who have left a great legacy of scholarly work. So yes, but my living examples now, who I follow, it would be Walima Baruti, Taka Kilimanjaro, Olatunji Mwamba, and I have another gentleman who I will be introducing. Well, I'm not going to introduce him because he's already been introduced to the community. There's a Dr. Batu Shikari,
Okay.
who is going to be a very, very influential part of my life going forward. I've been in discussions with him, having conversations with him, and I found that we are kindred spirits when it comes to this conscious movement. We think almost 100% alike. We could be twins as far as mind is concerned.
Right.
Batu Shikari is another one I want to put on the list as well.
Well, you definitely mentioned some heavy hitters there. Definitely mentioned some heavy hitters. And I just want to take time out, Baba, and just to ask Reya'Sekhmet, we covered a lot of ground in a short amount of time. And I just want to make sure that you're still good following, and if you have any questions or anything like that is on your mind that you want to ask, but I just want to check in with you, see how you're doing.
Thanks, Bob, for asking. And Bob Mkuu, I want you to know I'm listening and thinking. And even though this is a lot to take in, I understand that leadership isn't just about making decisions. It's about making the right decisions for our people.
Yes.
I know that some topics are complicated and not everyone will agree. But I also know that truth doesn't change just because people feel differently about it.
Yes.
That's why I'm here to learn to ask questions and to make sure I understand what's really important. I'm ready to keep going. Let's continue to build. But Baba Mkuu, I do have a question for clarity. And that is, do we gain knowledge from those people who chose a fearful way of life? And if their experiences are different from ours, does that mean that we can still learn something from them? Or do we only focus on what aligns with our own traditions and values?
Did you catch all of that?
I did not. I want to make sure I answer it correctly. So if you can rephrase it again, I appreciate it.
Or do we only focus on what aligns with our own traditions and values?
What only aligns with our own traditions and values? With people that differ from us?
Yeah.
Is that what you?
Okay. I thought that's what I want to make sure I got it clearly. Yeah, we talk about, well, Dr. Takar Kilimanjaro talks about this quote unquote rational kernel. Okay, so there's a rational kernel in everything, and any piece of work that is produced, any thought that is projected, into the ether from different individuals. There's a rational kernel there, and we want to say rational kernel because it has to make sense. It has to be rational. It has to make sense. So if there is a rational kernel in these different things, a published work, a projection of a thought, a hypothesis, or a theory from noted people who are recognized as authorities on different things. We have to take whether they are aligned with our spiritual beliefs or not. The rational kernel has to be the Holy Grail. It has to be the Holy Grail. Even when you look at people, I see people all the time talking about, well, why are you reading that European's work? Why are you not reading that European's work? Is there something that you can use? Is there a rational kernel in that work that you can use? You should not be prejudiced against anybody's work, whether they are heathens, Muslims, Christians, Europeans, Asians, Arabs. You should not have any type of prejudice against any kind of work that presents their rational kernel that's in line with your rational kernel. Because somewhere along the line, you can see eye to eye with a thought process of that person or that piece of work. So, yes, there is worth in anybody who does the work if there's a rational kernel there. But the only way you know that the rational kernel is for you to investigate that work. And if you don't even give it a chance from the start, you'll never reach that rational kernel. So that question is absolutely critical and important that all young people should ask themselves. Don't ever prejudice yourself from any kind of work, anybody's kind of work, no matter how foreign or anything else that may be from you. If it looks crazy, if it looks like there's not going to be a rational kernel, if it's totally crazy stuff, then stay away from it. I think that anybody who's talking about flat Earth, I'm not entertaining anybody's work that's talking about flat Earth
I
or
didn't see that one coming.
or anything of that nature. So, you talk about flat Earth, I'm not reading nothing that you're writing.
Oh, I'm gonna be laughing for a while. Okay, yeah, I agree with you 100% on that one.
Great question, great question.
Yeah, definitely great question.
That's why books like Art of Leadership and Raising Awareness, Past, Present, Future are so important. They don't just give us ideas, they give us direction and they give us strategy. And they remind us that leadership is a lifelong commitment.
Facts.
Family, drop some horsepower fist stones that separate any emotional resistance the fact they led to this discussion that we're having right now. Or drop a comment right now showing your support for this discussion and this channel. And if you can support this channel, you can do so by being a book friend and give a gift of a book. Cash App information is $J&J-Life. Or if you want to send physical items, you can do so by sending them to the address J&J-Life Ma'at, P.O. Box 35081, Des Moines, Iowa 50315. This information is embedded in the description below.
Ashe. Yeah. So Baba, Rhea just mentioned your book, Raising Awareness. You co-authored Raising Awareness, Past, Present, Future with Baba Olatunji. And there's still that one book that eludes me. And I did send Baba the message. So hopefully, I'll get a response and see if I can get a copy in one format or another.
Okay.
So I just wanted to share that I did reach out. Books like that, in my opinion, books like that should be at the forefront of information. And I think I've shared this with you through our private conversations. But nonetheless, could you speak on the significance of the work you co-authored with Baba Olatunji and how it ties back to everything we've discussed today?
Oh, no doubt about it. We are, again, we always, is important that when I align myself with like-minded people, Takao Kilimanjaro, Malima Baruti. I haven't done any work with Malima Baruti, but I had many discussions with him. But with Olatunji Mwamba, it's important for us to be very clear that our issues are not mythical or mystical. You know what I mean? We cannot get caught up in this mystical stuff and think that's going to save us. The Haitian Revolution, everybody seems to think that was a mystical win there, and it was the furthest thing from the truth. They actually had to pick up arms and give resources and train an army and all these other things. Now, what happened after that is a whole totally different story. But the Haitian Revolution has to do with getting up and rising up and actually fighting and having military tactics and all this thing. It had nothing to do with this mysticism that they talk about. You hear people all the time, well, it's African spirituality that won it for them. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. If you do your homework, you'll find that it didn't rise to that level at all. It had nothing to do with mysticism. But it's important for us to look at this in a very contemporary way. Everything that we do. So that raising awareness, past, present, future, is all about the root causes and the root solutions for our people. We're talking about critical thinking. We're talking about all these different things in there. We're talking about the LGBTQIA. We're talking about the use of the word nigger.
Yep.
We're talking about,
I was going to point that one out, by the way, Baba. I was going to say that there was 3 chapters that really stuck out in my mind. That was the N-word chapter. That was is the Bible, the Word of God, and interpersonal relationships. So we definitely have been doing our homework.
And I look at the interpersonal relationship chapter as something that I did I think I did a lot of good. I think I did a lot of good work with that chapter because it also gives you solutions of where we need to go as a nation. Sovereignty, sovereignty is something that is relative. What kind of sovereignty are we talking about? Are we talking about independent sovereignty, independent economy, independent government, all those different things? You're being honest, and I talk about this. I talk about this in the art of leadership. This is a next step up from that. You cannot have these things here in the United States of America in this diaspora. You cannot
Right.
have those things. Anybody looking to have those things here, you are in a pipe dream. This is where leadership comes involved. Honest leadership comes involved. Tell your people,
Right.
you cannot have that. There's no such thing as independent sovereignty here in the West. You're not going to have it here. And you thinking that you're going to have your own state, your own city, your own town, your own province. Guess what? You're never going to get it. And this is where leadership, responsible leadership, will have the balls and the courage to tell their people the truth. And this is the kind of leadership that we need. So raising awareness, past, present, future, tells you where our root issues are, concentrate on those root issues, understand those root issues, and then rise above that, rise above the fray, so we can now put ourselves in position to be successful as a people. Whether you do it here in the diaspora or where you do it over there on the mother continent, whatever your reality would be, you have to understand what these root causes, what these root issues first, and identify them, work on them, rise above them, and then let's work on ourselves as a people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Baba, how are we doing on time? We got a couple of more questions that we want to try to get through, but we want to be respectful of your time. So,
I got a few more minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going.
So, Baba Mkuu, if I understand you correctly, the real question is, what are we doing today that will strengthen our people tomorrow? And how are we applying what we've learned? Because knowledge without action is wasted. Am I right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, you're talking about wasted effort. So a lot of people think they're wasting their time now. Because a lot of people are not listening. The people are not listening to us. They don't care because they are capitalistically hypnotic.
Yeah.
They don't care. They don't care. They don't care what you're selling. They don't care what you're pushing. They don't care about the African stuff. They don't care about none of this stuff right now. They're too busy trying to chase the bag. They're too busy trying to get that bag, man. So yes, there is a issue with people not relating to us because of the condition and the sickness that we have as a people. And until we say we are sick, we're never going to rise above the fray. So great question, Rhea.
Well, with that, action without wisdom is dangerous.
Right.
Facts. And Baba Mkuu, you and Baba Olatunji put a lot of raising awareness, past, present, future, making sure it wasn't just a book, but a blueprint for action. Well, I plan to dive deeper into the book of learning, and because I want to make sure I truly understand the lessons you both are teaching, my question is, what was the most important lesson you wanted readers to take away? Was there a specific message that you both felt had to be emphasized above all else? So basically, Baba, what should I pay attention to the most while I study it?
Yeah. Aside from all the individual, multi-dimensional issues that we talk about, when you get to the relationships, we give answers and we give solutions there. So, because everybody wants to know, what can we do once you get past all this other stuff? Now we got generations that we need to deal with first before us even get to this point. But what you should be working on, Rhea, right now is establishing a culture of activism and of like-minded activists that are pushing forward towards the same thing. Now, understanding you got to understand what the difference is. What is nationhood? What is sovereignty? What is independence? You have to decide, your generation has to decide, what does sovereignty look like? What does independence look like? And what does nationhood look like? And it's going to look differently. It's going to look different geographically, no matter where you go on this planet. It's going to look different here in the West. It's going to look different there in Africa. And also depends in Africa where you're going to go geographically, what part of Africa you're going to land yourself in, how much you can do once you get there. You have to understand what the governments are. So a lot of research has to happen, and you have plenty. Well, I won't say people have time, but as a young person, you do have time to work your way through those things and decide where you want to go and where you want to be, where you want African people to be. Are you going to be satisfied here in the West and work out that solution here in the United States or in South America, North America, Canada, or whatever? Or do you want to do it over in Africa? You have to make that decision in your generation, and you have to nurture the leadership that can get you there, and that's your biggest charge right there.
Facts.
Baba Mkuu, I'm so interested in your name. Will you share with the family about your unique name and what it means or what it means to you, and how the name Baba Mkuu Mzee came to be?
Yeah, it's a very interesting name. It's a very simple name. Mkuu means esteemed, and Mz means elder. Now, you would think that's a very simple thing, but
take your time, Baba.
You would think it's a very simple thing, and it is a very simple thing, but I had a very good relationship when we first started the Raising Awareness group back in 2010, 2011. I had a young fella. He would probably be 45, 46 years old now, because he passed in 2017.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he's
to the ancestor.
Yeah, he's Ivan Irby, Africanus is what his name was. And my European name, Paul Hill, I was using on Facebook, and that's how I was introducing myself. They knew I was an elder, but every time we had these conversations, we started this Raising Awareness group. The first thing that he would, well, first of all the younger people says, elder, you need an African name. And I said, well, okay, I'll think about it. I don't know what I want to do. So I bought a couple of books, African names, blah, 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 and decided how I wanted to go. But as we went further into it, 2012, 2013, 2014, actually, we had our first event and at a hotel in Philadelphia, downtown Philadelphia. It ended up being pretty nice. And he told me, he says, elder, you're a great leader. You're our esteemed elder, and you need an African name, man. You need an African name. And he would tell me that every time I talked to him. He said, man, you need an African name. You're the esteemed elder. You're the esteemed elder. And I said, damn. I said, if I'm going to be the esteemed elder, let me just look up what esteemed elder is, in Swahili. And that's what I did. I saw Mkuu Mzee. I said, well, that's what I'm going to be. So I basically was named by my young people who I was at the time leading, and I didn't want to be, they ended up being the leader of the group for a little while. And I had to tell them, I said, look, an elder should not be in a leadership position. You young people should be leading this thing. You know what I mean? And it took me a while to kind of get them to take over the reins of that. I still guided them as they went, but that's when I became Mkuu Mzee. I didn't legally change it until I moved down here in South Carolina late 2020. So I've had the name now basically 5 years, legally going on 5 years. So that's the genesis of my name, Mkuu Mzee, being an esteemed elder. But a lot of people look at it like, well, you name yourself an esteemed elder. What makes you the esteemed? Nah, I was not named that. I was named that by my young peers. And And I took that as an honor, and it was nothing egotistical about that name at all. People look at it as though, well, you named you, who do you think he is? He called himself an esteemed elder. No, that's the furthest thing from the truth. I was named that by my young peers.
Go ahead, Baba. Go ahead.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And Ashe again. And Baba, for your information, my name Reya'Sekhmet combines Reya, which means a connection to Ra or Re, symbolizing light, guidance, and wisdom, and Sekhmet, the nature of war, defense, protection, and healing. Together, Reya'Sekhmet represents a powerful blend of all those things.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no doubt. Powerful, very powerful name.
Yeah. So Bob, is there anything that we didn't touch on today that you want to talk about? And is there anything coming up for you in the near future that the family should know about? You know, speaking engagements, travel, community practices, chilling out, anything?
Chilling out for sure. No. I mean, if you want me to close, I'll be glad to close it out. The conversation has been really good, except for a little video glitch we had there a little earlier.
Yeah.
I want to talk about how it is. I want to take that concept that I talked about the rational kernel.
Mm-hmm.
I want to emphasize some key points about that.
Go ahead, Baba.
You hear people throw the word around hypothesis,
mm-hmm.
and you hear people throw around the word theory or thesis, right? So people, I don't think, understand what is the difference with an hypothesis and a theory, right? So this is where you need to know that the difference, because a rational current is going to determine whether you're dealing with an hypothesis or a theory.
Mm-hmm.
So hypothesis could be some data or some information that has been accumulated to a point that it looks like it could be viable.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it could be important. Okay.
Because you're testing it, right?
Well, to a point. You
Okay.
test it to a point. You can say, if you can say it's right or wrong or true or false with an hypothesis, if you can say that it's true, then you probably have an hypothesis. You probably have an hypothesis. If it's false, you don't have an hypothesis. All you got is an opinion. So a hypothesis, a rational kernel has to at least fit that minimal description of an hypothesis. Okay. Can it be tested? Only to a certain degree. Only to a certain degree. Theory, on the other hand, is something that has been a lot of data, a lot of information. It's been vetted and it's been tested. Okay. Now understand that theory can still change as time goes on. Okay, we understand that's what science is all about. But it can be changed by another hypothesis. Okay, so if I'm in a theory and somebody with another hypothesis comes and says, "Man, you know what? I was thinking about this," and it affects my theory, that hypothesis now becomes part of my theory. It's part of the data gathering process, the constant testing and everything else of that thing. But as time goes on, as other hypotheses come on, or more data information comes in, as the science gets more sophisticated, like DNA, the things that we do now with architectural science and stuff like that. When all those things get better, when the science gets better, then the theories will change. So your rational kernel has to at least be on the level of a hypothesis, where it looks like it could be true. It definitely would not be false. And that flat Earth theory is false.
Yeah. Come on, look, come on with it.
Flat Earth.
Come on with it, Baba.
No flat Earth, that's true. Now, there's no need to go to a theory, because why do you need theoretical science to prove the obvious? Okay. So, and also another thing too, when you hear people saying about going out into space, I'm gonna make this real quick.
Yeah, there's some questions with that.
Yeah. You hear about this the Van Allen's belt, the radiation belt, where
Yes.
people don't think that you can get past that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Nobody went to the moon because of the Van Allen belt. Well, the Van Allen belt happens to be happens to be waves of intensity in certain parts of the Earth gravitational influence. Okay, so and the magnetic poles also control how thick and how strong that radiation is coming in from the sun
Mhm.
into the atmosphere of the Earth. So you just need to understand that there's a science where it could be less radiation or more radiation where the belts are in comparison to where a person would go to go into outer space. They figured that out. That's science. They figured that out. Okay.
Right.
And the proper shielding on the spaceship that went up was enough for them. Now, I'm not saying that white man is the greatest thing on earth, but they did go to the moon. You know what I mean? And it's been proven that they went through the Van Allen's belt. So that was not hypothesis. Okay, that was just fact. Okay, so rational current people are running around with these rational kernels, and they got these opinions. Oh, they can't get to the outer space because of Van Allen belt. Well, you didn't do your research. You didn't look. You didn't understand what the flat Earth thing was all about. Why are there tides in the oceans and the rivers if the Earth is flat?
Exactly.
How do you get tides in the rivers and the oceans if the Earth is flat? You don't get that from a flat Earth. You get that from another body going around, rotating around the Earth, which happens to be the moon. So people need to stop this stuff and start working on the principles of rational kernels, and then open your mouth once you research something. Understand what hypothesis and theory is all about, and work from that level, and stop embarrassing yourself. That's my word to the community today.
Stop embarrassing yourself, family.
Stop embarrassing yourself.
You heard it first. You heard it first. So, Baba, how can one get a hold of you if they have questions or they want to purchase your books, or do you have a way for the family to show their appreciation, things of that nature?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty easy. You can put my information under your video description, and just have the Raising Awareness Group website. They can go there and check it out. The Raising Awareness Group media page on YouTube, the Raising Awareness Group Gmail email address is something that they can communicate with me personally with.
Okay.
But as far as supporting us financially, we don't do that. We don't need to have that kind of thing. Everything I do is free. Everything is on a voluntary basis. And if there's a need for me to get financial help or support, then I will do that. But there's no need for anybody to give me any kind of financial support. That's one of the things that I think very highly about. I think very strongly about. And that's one of my things, my contributions to you preach, you live how you preach, and you walk the path that you preach. And if I want to talk about capitalistic hypnosis, I have to live that life. So anything about me that comes to any close to being capitalistic, I try not to be that person. So if I can do it without being depending on anybody, praying on the community that way and getting money from the community that way, I'll do it to the best of my ability.
Much respect. And Baba, do you have any books or resource recommendations for Reya'Sekhmet myself, all those want to become or need refresher information, out there to be true Pro-Africans?
As far as children, young people is concerned, you already know already about the book of Ma'at for children. Y'all know it. I'm pretty sure y'all know about that already.
Yeah, we got that.
Yeah, I mean that's it's kind of hard. It depends on the level of consciousness that a person is at. It's kind of hard for me to to recommend any kind of work without really knowing where a person is really at, mentally, psychologically, and everything
Well, as
else.
you can see, we delving into books that are right in front of us. So
Yeah.
if it's along the realm of what you see, that would be helpful as well. But we might be in the pocket right now. So you tell us.
You are in the pocket. You are in the
Okay.
pocket. But there are one book that I know that anybody can get into, and it's a culmination of works by Takai. He just came out with that a couple months ago called Principles.
Okay.
So that has pretty much everything that he has talked about in his entire catalog of work. If you get the book Principles, everything that he talked about in all his other books are in that book Principles. So
Okay.
if you want to have a condensed version of what he's trying to say and what he's trying to do, it's in there. And then with Marlima Baruti, To Teach a People is another book that is the same thing, where he has put together all his thoughts and all of his other works in this particular book, that volume. We teach the people, or how we teach the people. I can't remember now exactly the name of it.
I'll look for it when we get off the call too.
Okay, I just saw it. To Educate the People.
Okay.
So that's the one you want, To Educate the People. So I would recommend those two books.
Okay.
And that way, when you want to kind of come out of those books and go specifically to teaching teens, or go from Baruti to go right to Menticide or Negroes and Other Essays and things of that nature, or go to Box Square with Takai, you can get it out of those two volumes of those great men, those great scholars. That's what I would recommend.
Okay. Awesome.
Now that you know a little more about Baba and Mkuu Mzee, support Baba on all social media platforms. Don't take our word for none of the information we provided today. Do your research.
One more time.
Do your research.
One more time for the family way in the back.
And it was all the way in the back.
All the way in the back.
Do your research.
Do your research.
Yeah.
Now let's get to work.
Let's get to work. Ashe. So Baba, as we round out the discussion, and you said some things that that we're gonna ride on for a long time, but we do want to give you a final word before we actually close out. And if you have anything you want to say in addition to the people, now is that time. If not, then we'll close it out.
No. I think I pretty much worked, kind of worked out everything that I wanted to get out. I think I've said pretty much, unless you need some clarification on some things, I think I'm pretty good. But I just want to say that I appreciate the opportunity to be able to express myself in ways that I normally can't, otherwise. Even with some of the things I do with my own work, my own little excerpts and videos that I do, sometimes it's good to have a conversation with somebody else, because some of the things I do when I do solo, I'm just my own thoughts, my own expressions, and my own motivations. But this way, you guys can get the best out of me by stretching my imagination and stretching my mental expertise, where I would not necessarily do that on my own. So I want to say I appreciate the fact that I had the opportunity to do that. And luckily, you guys didn't put me to task and make it so hard for me where I couldn't perform. You guys took it easy on me a little bit today. I appreciate that.
Look, family, here's the truth. This conversation wasn't just talk. It was a blueprint for survival, a reminder that leadership is not a game, not a title, and most definitely not a privilege. It's a responsibility. Baba Mkuu broke it all down. The weight of morality, the urgency of protecting the children, the necessity of strategic leadership rooted in truth. We challenged narratives, studied identity, and confronted hard truth that too many people dodge.
Yeah, and family, Reya'Sekhmet at 8 years old already sees through the illusion. She knows that history is not something to just memorize, it's something to weaponize. Leadership is not waiting for permission, as we mentioned, it's stepping into power now. So to every ear listening, knowledge without action is dead, and action without wisdom is reckless. What we do now defines what lives and what dies. Our people, our future, our damn legacy.
So family, no more distractions, no more excuses, no more playing nice. When the stakes are survival, stand firm, lead boldly, and build something that cannot be broken.
Facts.
There you have it, family. Until next time, please absolutely the bell with the like button and subscribe.
Educate yourself, family.
Peace and love is the key.
Hotep.
Peace and love is the key. Ra'ah represents the essence of truth, justice, harmony, balance, order, and domain, truth, reciprocity, and righteousness.
J&J-Life podcast. J&J-Life podcast was created to give the family a place and platform to embrace their spiritual awakening and consciousness. J&J-Life is dedicated to showcasing the beauty of our culture, educating our people and those that want to learn this work.
Smash that like button. Peace and love is Nikki.